Hi everybody, welcome to This Day in History. We are talking about what happened this day in history, February 7th. I'm still in January. I don't get it. It's too early in the morning for this. But we are in the 38th day of the year from the Gregorian calendar. So if you guys ever wonder what the calendar name is, it might be a Jeopardy question. There you go. Alright, so we go to the events first, and we're going to start in 1783. The American Revolutionary War. French and Spanish forces lift the Great Siege of Gibraltar. That happened in 1783. In 1795, the 11th Amendment to the Constitution is ratified. Now, the 11th Amendment deals with the states' sovereign immunity, and that was the 11th Amendment to the Constitution. There you go. Alright, in 1812, the strongest of a series of earthquakes strikes New Madrid, Missouri. You wouldn't think Missouri would be a place where a lot of earthquakes would come, but it kind of is what it is. In 1842, the Battle of Debre Tabor, the regent of the Emperor of Ethiopia, defeats the warlord of Zamin in that battle. 1854, a law is approved to found the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. Lectures start on October 16th, 1855, and are still going on today. In 1863, the SMS Morpheus sinks off the coast of Auckland, New Zealand, killing 189 people. In 1894, the Cripple Creek miners' strike, led by the Western Federation of Miners, begins in Cripple Creek, Colorado. In 1900, the Second Boer War. The British troops fail in their third attempt to lift the siege of Ladysmith. In 1904, a big fire in Baltimore, Maryland destroys over 1,500 buildings in 30 hours. 1907, the Mud March is the first large procession organized by the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies. 1940, the second full-length feature Walt Disney film Pinocchio premieres. 1943, Imperial Japanese forces complete the evacuation of troops from Guadalcanal, ending Japanese attempts to retake the island from the Allied forces in the Guadalcanal campaign. 1951, the Korean War. More than 700 suspected sympathizers are massacred by South Korean forces. In 1962, the United States bans all Cuban imports and exports. 1974, Grenada gains its independence from the United Kingdom. 1979, Pluto moves inside Neptune's orbit for the first time since either was discovered. Neptune has a different orbit and sometimes can get overplaced by Pluto. 1986, 28 years of one-family rule end in Haiti after President Jean-Claude Duvalier flees the nation. 1990, the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The Central Committee of the Soviet Communist Party agrees to give up its monopoly of power. 1991, Haiti's first democratically elected president, Jean-Pierre Aristide, is sworn in. 1991, the Presidential IRA launches a mortar attack on 10 Downing Street, the headquarters of British government. 1991. In 1997, Next merges with Apple Computer, starting the path to Mac OS X. 1999, Crown Prince Abdullah becomes the king of Jordan after the death of his father, King Hussein. In 2013, the United States state of Mississippi officially verifies the 13th Amendment, being the last state to approve the the ending of slavery. It was officially ratified. It was formally ratified by Mississippi in 1995. And South Korea launches a missile into outer space, violating multiple treaties and prompting condemnation from around the world. That happened in 2016. Now, 2 years later, we're over in Korea with the Olympics. So, births that happened this day in history, we have Empress Matilda, Holy Roman Empress, and claimant to the British throne. She was born this day in history, 1102. Interesting highlight that. John Deere was born this day in history, 1804. Charles Dickens born this day in history, 1812. In 1867, Laura Ingalls Wilder, who wrote the book and came up with the Little House on the Prairie, born this day, 1867. Sinclair Lewis, born 1885. And as we go further down the road here, we're going to find the oldest person still with us. And it looks like it is Juliette Greco, who's a French singer and actress. It is her birthday in 1927. That was when she was born. Other birthdays to remark upon: Hans Schmidt, born 1925. King Curtis, born 1934. Herb Cole, my former senator, born this day, 1935. Joe English, born this day. Also Mick McCarthy, Eddie Izzard, Garth Brooks, born this day in history as well. So happy birthday to Garth. We have Ashton Kutcher. It's his birthday today. Tina Mergino. Matthew Stafford. Happy birthday to Matthew. Isaiah Thomas. Really awesome, cool people. Ryan O'Reilly. Happy birthday to Ryan. And B. Miller. So happy birthday to all those wonderful people. Some deaths to cover. Richard Hatch died this day in history last year. Very much known for Battlestar Galactica. Died this day in history. Dean Smith, very famous coach from the University of North Carolina. Dean Smith passed away in 2015. King Hussein, of course, died in 1999. And a lot of Qatar Slim died this day in history. Pope Pius IX. And, you know, the list goes on and on, folks, and there's a lot of people on this list, including Harvey Firestone. I was thinking something else there. But the guy who founded Firestone Tire and Rubber Company died this day in history in 1938. So it is Independence Day in Grenada. It is National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day in the United States. And that is this day in history. Thank you guys so very much for catching up with the show. We are here and live every single day. I try to do this a little earlier in the morning most times. Sometimes, though, especially on Saturdays, we don't get to the show until later on in the day. So check out This Day in History. Like, share, subscribe. Be the first one to note when the show is on. And live, speaker.com/The Scott Show We'll give you all the details. Thank you guys so very much. We'll catch you here real soon on thescottshow.com.